Alright, folks, for those of you in the recording, welcome to our next playthrough of Ex Novo. We're going to be working on the continent that's in focus right now on screen. It's called Flarin. Let me adjust that crop so it's a little more in focus. Let me just not that one to the right. There we go. Wait, no? Oh no, it is zooming in. Okay, let's put this there. Yeah, so the image that is zooming in on that continent right there, is Flarin. If you can't tell where it is in the world, I will zoom back out to the full continent map, and then and I'll explain. And then we'll get started. So this is Flarin. It's similarly sized to, let's say, to Karsus, I would say, probably. Yeah, it's about Karsus size. It's a little larger than Karsus, in the same way that Trugai is a little larger than Karsus. But the really big continents are the two remaining continents, whose names I will reveal later. Anyway, we're going to focus on Flarin today, and we're going to focus on that main capital city in Flarin. Which I think the name comes at the end of the game of Ex Novo in the rules, so we won't name it yet. So that's Flarin. Over deer. Let me pull up the rules for Ex Novo, and we're also working with some new variant rules that the developers have included for Ex Novo, which separates power from citizens, so you can track the power of factions without them having specifically aligned citizens, which I think I'm going to like that a lot more. World building games, let's open the rules for Ex Novo. I think we just need the tables, but I'm going to open the rules just in case. Wait for those to open up for us. But we'll be working on the main city there, that triangle on the map. And it's one of Anchime's... Oh, golly. I just had a huge crunch out of my neck. That's not a good sign. That's one of Anchime's sister cities. One of the few cities that has a link to the teleportation circle network, actually. I'm gonna bump my chair down a little bit here. I've suddenly lost height. Oh no! Okay, let's double check the rules here. Yeah, I think you name the city right at the end of the game. So, yeah, you name the features, and then you name the city. Yeah. So, I kind of skip over the discussion phase because it's just me, but if you're playing this multiplayer, you definitely want to, discuss so everybody's on the same brain. This is a very, very large settlement. Target size of the settlement, we want, obviously, we want a metropolis, because this is akin to Anchime. So we're going to put 15 lines across the screen. As a note, speaking of lines, Ex Umbra works a lot better with a lot more squiggling and assorted geometric shapes in it. So like if I were drawing shapes for Ex Umbra, when it says one line across the page, I would go for something like that, because that gives you a lot more detail to flesh out. That's part of my issue. That was part of my issue with Ex Umbra, as I was working with too geometric of lines. I think rather than the very geometric the very geometric lines of other places. I think Flaren is going to have more of a chaotic lines. So these aren't just. We do need to split the page with 15 lines, but these aren't just geometric lines as before. So let's give them a little character, shall we? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I said 13. I started here. 13, 14, and 15 here. So we got 15 lines. We need to lay out the geography on the page, which I probably should have done before drawing all these interleaving lines. Crud. I really should have done that, because if we look at the map up there, there's a lot of area to work with. Okay, so let's put a gray line down for where the area is. I need to see the picture. There we go. It's roughly shaped about like this, let's say. No, wait, that starts way too far over, because Flaren's on the one side. So, let's say it starts up here, kind of juts down and out, comes back in a little bit, starts to jut back out at the bottom. This side's gray, this side's water. So now we get to have the joy of paint bucketing all of these little shapes in. Ooh. And we have to make sure all these shapes are closed. Ruh-roh. The joys of doing this in MS Paint. It's a little harder than the developer intent of you doing this on actual physical paper. But this side is all water, which unfortunately cuts out some of this nice stuff over here, but it does give some wonderful, tasty, spicy flavor to the existing roads on the continent. As a reminder, those black lines do mean there will be roads there eventually. You know how it says, take some artistic license with the lines. Don't just, fill. Okay, that's too dark. It's this one. It says take artistic license with the lines. I'm taking a lot less artistic license with the lines here in MS Paint, because I then, for the thumbnail and for the actual area maps that show up in the campaign, I run them through Incarnate. And so the lines get kind of a rough shaving down and shaping up. So it becomes more of, a rough idea of the roads based on the lines here. But that's that. Oh, that one of those isn't supposed to be that, is it? No, it's not. Two of those aren't supposed to be that. There we go. We'll say this is... yeah, that looks kind of It's a little over exaggerated, but I kind of like it that way. And it gets most of the interesting intersections there onto the map too. So that's our lines. This means we start with how many citizen tokens? 25 citizens. Start with 25 citizens. Put that on the screen so we don't forget it. Age. You know what? I've got time. I've got plenty of time. Let's go elderly. 20 development phases. For reference, I think Anchime has 20 development phases, so it's super old. Yeah, 20 development phases. 20 turns. And we start with one power token. And I assume each faction starts with one power? Let me double check. If not, I'm probably going to start each faction with one power so they don't just evaporate immediately. Each city starts with one power token. Put it in the first district. Whenever a faction gains power... Okay, so it doesn't state that factions start with one power. I think I'm going to start factions with one power. And there is one power in the starting district of the city. I don't think I'm even going to put power tokens on the map physically. I think I'm going to keep track of the power tokens. Sorry, there's a gnat in here, and it keeps flying right in front of my face, and I've been trying not to be distracted by it, but it just keeps flying by. I'm not going to keep track of power tokens on the MS Paint map here. I'm going to keep track of the power tokens and what belongs to what faction in chat. Sorry, if you see me grabbing at seemingly nothing, it's me trying to squish the gnat. Hang on, someone is yelling my name. Apologies, it's everyone's favorite guest star, my mom, yelling up the stairs. So I'm going to keep track of the faction power just separately from the map, but if you were doing this physically with like physical tokens on a piece of paper, I would suggest like you know, it's akin to keeping track of it on the side. You know, each faction is an index card anyway. So we have one power, and each faction has one power. How many factions do we have? I think that's the thing we decide next. We've already decided terrain. I think we need to roll once or twice for like terrain features. Yeah, features. There we go. Like we know what the geography is. I think I'm gonna pick from the like stone. Because that's kind of like a stone color. And I had it in my mind that it was like a large, you know, kind of rocky area. Although there is the special tag. What would be gray here? I'm almost tempted to like. Is there like rules for Phoenix people in D&D? Like I know I said this area is kind of low magic, but like I like the idea of this area being like, ooh, ooh. That would be especially interesting with this being another archive city, like a city where there's a lot of knowledge and information. Um, oh, that would let me like, oh, I'm having ideas already. Oh no. Um, okay. I like the idea of this city being like this whole area of the continent really being something of a wildfire state. Like every set, like it's very vibrant all at once, and then you know they go a long period without rain and everything dries up, and then everything goes up like a tinderbox, and it's just completely gray and ashen. So, yeah, we're gonna call this whole area at the top of that continent there the Ashenland. I know it's intended to be stone, especially if you look at the rest of the world map, but I like that. This whole area, is called the Ashenland for its cycle of verdant growth and abundant wildfires. And that gives them a whole different outlook on the concept of fire. I think they're a lot more enthusiastic about it. I think. Oh, did I mean to do that? I don't think I meant to close the thing I was looking at down here on my phone. It's just the rules for power. Just remember that each resource gains a power. When a faction gains power, they get a token. Loses, token returns to map to be reassigned. Yeah. Where was I? Ashenland. So why did I say that? Oh yeah, I needed to decide the terrain. So I think when the group stumbles upon the Ashenland, I'm gonna like flip a coin, or like roll a D100 and like I'm gonna roll a D100 and based on the roll of that D100 is where the Ashenland will be in its cycle of ashenness, I guess. This also introduces something very interesting about this city in particular, because all of these triangle cities on the map of Nap-Karsus, let me show the full map for like 5 seconds. What's interesting is all of the cities that are highlighted by a triangle here, which you can't see because the image isn't where it's supposed to be. All these triangle cities are archive cities, as I've been calling them. They essentially are reservoirs of information, and what makes that interesting for this city that we're going to work on tonight is that makes them have a much stronger oral history tradition. So they tell tales, and they tell fables and tales and stories to keep records alive, and it's a lot of there's people with good memories are valuable here because they become akin to books and stuff. Because other than engraving into metal, there's not a lot of and even then, there's not a lot of way to have written materials survive fires. Like the most important things, they will engrave into metal or something, just to make sure it's preserved along with the oral history. But information is stored as tradition here in this city, rather than any of the more standard methods. As such, really the only the history-minded of Anchime tend to interact with this city. So I need to open a document and start writing this down before it leaves my brain altogether. Or my computer can lock up. That's cool too. Hey, you okay? Lappy, how you feeling, bud? Oh geez, that was weird. Everything froze up for a second. But let me write down. Let me open a text document for, what did we decide this place? Yeah, Flarin. Let's make a text document for Flarin and start writing down this city's lore. Flarin. lore. But I need to write this down or I'll forget about it. The gray area on Flarein is the Ashenland, a place where there is a repetitive cycle of verdant growth, impressive wildfires, and ashy remains. Shockingly, in Flarein, in the Ashenlands, there is the city we're working on, which is a sister archive to Anchime. However, due to the frequent fires, the history is kept orally by production of by sharing of tales, tunes, and the like. Also, speaking of, I just thought of this. You know how there's the lore bard in D&D? Lore bards that came up in Martyr, they often will, if they want to leave Karsus, where all the weird stuff happens, they will often emigrate to Flarein in general, and this city in particular. Because lore bards, their whole thing is they gain their bardic power via knowledge. Like, at some point I want to run a lore bard that is just a fun fact machine. Just quite literally a lore bard that's like, oh, well, this place, and they're kind of like a little bit of a tour guide or a know-it-all kid or something. It's something I have on the back burner, but I need to... Anyway, let's focus. Next we've decided the overall geography. I kind of want to put like a volcano somewhere in the Ashenland that's kind of like the known trigger for the fire. Maybe possibly. I think they wouldn't settle that close to a volcano. I think the volcano is slightly off of the right of our screen right now. Like this map screen here, the volcano is hanging out off to the right. It's over here somewhere. It wouldn't be that close, but it's a little bit like a Pompeii situation where it's closer than probably is comfortable, but like they know it's gonna go off, so they can prepare for it. A little ways off the right of the map is a volcano, which is known to be the trigger for frequent wildfires. Okay. What else would draw people here? Purpose, location. Why are the people here? I think we got to roll for purpose, location. I don't think I can pick just for my own sake. So, location. Why did they come here? Let's find out. Gotta get our D6s, because guess what I forgot to do before we started the game? Just pick the D6s out of my bag. Oh, those are none of the D6s I need. Where's the last one? There it is. 3 D6s. That's all we'll need. Yeah, half of my lore is written down longhand in a notebook, and the other half is in a text document. I really should just transfer all the typed lore into the notebook. Anyway, let's roll 2d6 for location. That's 1 and a 5. 1 plus 5 is 6. Useful natural resources. Metals for war, wood to build. What useful materials are present, and what makes these things so valuable? What is present here? Okay, well, obviously ash is not a good answer. Maybe ash could be, fortified into, like, lye and stuff. I like that. I would say, yes, ash is a natural resource, but, when settlers first moved here, they found the remains of a previous civilization that maybe didn't make it through the last wildfire cycle. And yeah, let's say that, actually. I like that. People just emigrated up from the green area and the green area below the Ashenland, and they found the remains of a civilization there that had learned how to, like, process ash into lye for, the myriad of uses for lye, like pretzels and, soap and the like. I like that. So they initially they moved here for useful natural resources, that being the ash, which can be processed into lye and other things. The natural resource is that brought settlers to city is, unsurprisingly, ash, but more so the knowledge of a previous civilization that knew how to process the ash into useful things like lye. Soaps, cleaners, anything that needs a base. I like that. I was very tempted to just be like, oh yeah, they came here for the fish because it's a coastal city, but I've done that too many times, and I don't like it. I don't like doing it too much. So, add a resource. A resource has a power token, right? Yes, a resource has a power token. So we have the resource, so there's now 2 power available on the map. And then, decision. Why did they come here? Why did they come here? 2d6. Let's find out. 4 and 4 is 8. A business venture. Why would they be looking for business? Who came here? What company came here? Okay. So, let's look at the wider map again. I like the idea of a lot of these continents being kind of well interconnected, unlike... And then they just don't include Karsus. It's kind of funny. Let's say the kind of, red area there, that city, the red area, Archive City, sent people over to Flaren to search for, resources of some kind. So, that would make this resource was rather valuable over the sea in in that reddish area. So, settlers settled here to make coin on export. It was a business decision. Like Shroudbell, I think. I think Shroudbell was that way. Okay, so, business decision. Oh, first district. We forgot to draw that on the map. Draw the first district on the map. Yeah, add the first district and move a citizen to the city. We're going to say they come in along this area here. So that gives us this area as A. That's one of the nice things about using MS Paint for these maps is it allows me to gesture on the map a little bit. So this is the first district. And we move a little citizens. This citizen, yeah, okay, so we can just use heart tokens for the citizens now, because the power of each faction is tracked separately, which is super nice. Okay, and next thing is we roll for factions. No, we roll for hierarchy. What is the hierarchy here? Roll a single die. A 1. They're unstructured. I don't like that. I'm gonna roll again. They're too big for unstructured collective. Governing council. Absolutely governing council. I like that. There is a council at the start. This city is ruled via a council initially composed on founding of the most senior members of the trade expedition, eventually moves to be some appointed by the homeland's city, some voted in by the locals. Oh, I hit the wrong button. No. Okay, factions. How many factions do we have to keep track of? It's one. A single faction. A singular faction is in power. What shared hope or fear binds these people together? So, we have one faction. We need to make a faction. Okay, well, if these people are learning to make soap, because that's the only thing I can think of that is useful for lye. Let's Google uses of lye. Because it's a strong base. You can use it for things. Uses of lye. Lye is a chemical used for making soap, performing chemistry demonstrations, making biodiesel, curing food. Really? Disinfecting things, and some modern things that don't apply here. Uses. Oh, you can use it to make like lutefisk, cure olives, canned mandarin oranges, make century eggs, pretzels, bagels. They can be used as a tenderizer in the crust of certain cakes, rice cakes, apparently. It can be used to tenderize ramen noodles. Okay, so it's... Yeah, and then you can use it to make soap, or clean things, or Ah. It's also good to get decompose, you know, animal carcasses and the like. Oh, apparently you can use it to identify fungi too. Okay, so the most obvious applications that'll come up here are, you know, the breaking down of tissue. As you know, use it as like a proto embalming fluid, so to speak. That may come up later. Sorry if you're trying to eat things. Soap, and then making of preserved foods. So those are the three main things they would get out of this lie. So that's something common that we could focus on. What else can you process out of wood ash? Like, I know you can get like lye or a similar base. What else can you process out of wood ash? Wood ash. Yeah, obviously, uses. Thank you. I know what wood ash is. You can use it for soil fertilizer, too. I don't think they would export it for that. You can use it for ceramic glazes. Okay, so our two main exports here are lye, which is very easy to process from wood ash, and ceramic glazes. And various ceramic glazes. These resources okay. We have a singular faction, though. I've been distracted. I've been distracted by my need for lore. Um, I think I want to lean in on soap because it's the most obvious thing you can do with lye. Um, what can we do with soap? Clean. We could kind of try to go with like a temperance movement type energy here. You know, we could go like a clean living. Ooh, spooky. You know, I like that. Like kind of a puritanical, you must live cleanly, brother, type thing. So the faction will have a much fancier name, but our current faction, the the exalted cleanliness. Let's say. I'll come up with something more appropriately fantasy eventually, but exalted cleanliness has 1 power to start, and if they gain power, they're gonna gain more from hang on, where did that resource come from? That resource came from earlier up in the page, right? Sorry, I'm very easily distracted today. I don't know what my deal is. Okay, yeah. The resource came from earlier in the page. I forgot. And we've been carrying on about the resource. Um, 1 power is unassigned, is from start of city. 1 is from wood ash / lye knowledge. Okay, so now that we've gotten thoroughly distracted, let's rest it back onto Okay, then we start rolling for events, don't we? Yeah, I think we start rolling for events. Oh wait, no, we name before we start. applying events to the city. So we gotta come up with a name for this place. Let's think. I kind of like the idea of it being them taking the name after a fire god or goddess, like a fire deity. What do I have a named fire deity in the campaign right now? Let me check my notes. World building, because I named several deities, but not all of them. Brewing and fermentation, harvests, uh, medicine and healing, the sun, intelligence, and magic. So we do not have a fire deity yet. Okay. Let's think about this. What would be a good name for a fire deity? Pyrus is a little too on the nose. I wanted to start with a K. Uh, what can we think here? Care. Let me think. Care. What can we stick on the end of that? So we've got care. Kerman. Kermas. That sounds a little too much like Kermit. Kermaes. Kermaestin. 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 Yeah. That's the god of fire, and that's the name of. Actually, that's just the deity of fire. Fire doesn't have a gender. Kermaestin is the name of this city after the fire deity, which is personified as a great big dragon bursting out of the earth. Yeah, let's go, cause that. Oh no, I don't want to. I don't want to keep doing confusingly name the take one name and apply it to four things syndrome, because that already happens with the continent of Karsus and the setting being named Karsus. So we're just naming the city and the deity of fire, Kermaestin. So city Kermaestin. Actually, let's make Kermaestin the name of the city, and Kermay, the deity of fire, and Stin is like a town here. You know, Stin is the traditional town ending. Whether it's from the continent, it's not from Flaren, because that wouldn't make any sense. Stin is a common town ending on the continent from which they came. So I need to write that down in my notebook so I don't forget it. Where's my pencil? I set down a pencil for five. There it is. Obviously, Kermay is not commonly worshipped on basically any continent except for Flaren. So, you know, it's probably not likely to come up, but I'll write it down. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna stick with the dragon coming out of the ground idea, but I might have a better idea. Who knows? Okay. So we've got a name, and we can start rolling for historical events. I think. Yeah, we start rolling for historical events, and then we start moving citizens. Here comes the long part. So we have 2 power to assign to factions so far, anytime a faction gains in power. And we got 20 turns to go. So let's roll for an event. Turn 1. That's 3, 5, 6. Let's see what that is. I only need the tables now. 3, 5, 6 is a revolutionary invention. Is it the wheel, the internal combustion engine, an elixir that grants new vigor? Who controls it? So I think, let's lean in on the soap. I think soap was made, rather. Yeah, let's lean in on that. Let's say that soap was always hot process soap at that point. So, obviously they're exporting just straight lye back to homeland TM, but the Kermaestrinites, they also process it into soap and then send it over. Originally, they only had the concept of what we would call hot process soap, where you have to keep it heated and it's a whole thing. It's a pain in the neck. But they develop very early on the process of cold process soap that just kind of does its own thing. You can just kind of mix it and then it just is. You got to let it finish reacting and then it just is. So early after founding, soap makers in the exalted cleanliness develop cold process soap comparison to the already existing hot process soap that is less effort and therefore leads to more soap being made, i.e. more money. And the exalted cleanliness gain a power from this. So exalted, we're going to say EC for short, because I don't want to type exalted cleanliness 1,000 times. Now has 2 power coming from this resource, which I don't know how I'm going to draw on the map. Maybe just draw a little snowflake next to some soap bubbles? I'm not sure. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. The sea does not turn red, I promise. So, I'm going to add a citizen. It makes sense for them to be gaining citizens right now. So, we just... Does it say add a district? It does not say add a district, but I'm adding a district. Because that's how I do things. So, they're going to expand this way. We're going to add a citizen right about here. Yeah. And the cleanliness gain themselves some power, which is nice for them. How do we represent that resource on the map, though? Because we gotta draw a little something on the map to represent that resource. I just said a little bit ago soap bubbles and I'm gonna say an up arrow. More soap. So we're gonna put a little blue up arrow to represent. Let's just put the blue up arrow to represent cold processed soap, meaning making more soap for export. Theoretically, that could have gone onto the faction, so to speak, but it's fine. We'll put it there. Alright. And then we roll for the next event, which means we have 2, 4, 3, but wait, let's keep track of turns. 19 turns. How many citizens left? 24 citizens. 2, 4, 3. A faction seizes power. Well, no, because there's only a single faction. It's already the most powerful. We're rolling again. I don't like that. 2, 2, 1. Let's see what we get. 2, 2, 1. Does this give us another... Elections are held. Are the citizens invested in the campaign? Are the results surprising, or was it all rigged to begin with? A faction gains or loses power. So, I think this is when the city transitions from directly imported council members from, far off, whoever's the colonizer here, and they start voting in some of the locals into the council, and it causes no shortage of tussle. A smallish, though still noticeable, war for semi-independence breaks out and eventually leads to citizens having a foothold in the ruling council rather than its initial state of puppet government, let's say. That's probably not the best word for that, but it's what I'm using. Yeah. Council. Yeah. The colonizing government, so to speak, their parent company would probably be a better term. Their parent company retains partial control, but the unrest remains small because they don't want to lose the lucrative soap income. I'm gonna say that this... Oh, what's pinging at me? Oh, sorry. My computer just went... I'm like, hello? What was I saying? So, I think this is going to introduce a new faction, formerly known as the Revolutionaries. I think these are just the... What do I want to go with here? I want to say... let's say... I want to play into the flame aspect. Let's say we'll say for now they're called the Independent Flame, but I'm going to come up with something much more, fantasy type eventually. Faction Independent Flame. The Independent Flame yoinks some power from the power pool, and now there's no more loose power. There's no more loose power lying around. One power. I'm kind of tempted to do what I did with Ex Umbra the other day and hold off on all my citizens unless it specifically says place a citizen, and then just place them at the end. But I don't think I'll do that. Just because I don't know. I like it being a little more procedural for citizens then. So we're going to expand big this way. And we're going to put a citizen down in here. Is there like a flag shape I could make for like the rebellious flame or whatever? Is there like a little fire shape I could use? There's not really a little fire shape. I could just freehand one. It's not this doesn't need to be some kind of the flames of independence here do not need to be, it's best that it is a stylized flame. It looks a little mountainy. Hang on. So that looks a little mountainy, a little boat-like, but it's not the end of the world. We just got to put a little orange shape in the middle to kind of symbolize flameliness. There we go. We're gonna put the little flame in there to represent the flame of independence burning on the continent. That's the faction image for it's a stylized flame. We didn't decide on a faction emblem for the exalted cleanliness. Okay, this is a little weird, but I think rather than having a traditional emblem of sorts, I think the exalted cleanliness you have to have some kind of transparent circle on your person. So like a panel of glass in your clothing somewhere, or like a panel of glass, like a little window, so to speak, into your like, if you have like a backpack or like a rucksack or something, there's a small window that lets you see into it, and it is meant to be kept clean. I think long term, it might evolve into like glass that has then has some like soap bubbles or something enameled into it, but initially it's just the glass. I like that. So let's write that down. This revolution marks the rise of the independent flame, whose faction symbol is a stylized fire. Yeah. It's a little bit of like a cop-out in the same way that like, oh, Power Girl doesn't have a symbol, she just has the window on her chest, but like, I like it. Maybe like some kind of change in fashion or something. Okay, so we have 23 citizens now. 23 citizens, 18 turns, and 1 power. Let's roll again. What did we get? 6, 2, 4. It seems like I land on very similar things every time I roll for these. 6, 2, 4. What's that? Beneficial weather. An approaching army is hindered, storms destroy rivals, or crops are plentiful. Does someone claim responsibility? Is the miracle commemorated? We add something. What would beneficial weather be? I think, I'm thinking. Hang on. Brain loading. What would beneficial weather be? I feel like maybe, despite the settlement being very, like, intentionally fire tolerant. They're like, oh yeah, well we'll just rebuild when it burns down, or like they have buildings that will withstand fire. I think the fire like becomes too great an event this year, so to speak, and the uh, who takes credit? I think at some point there is just like a downpour. Like there is just a giant like mechanically probably what happened was all of the smoke from this especially difficult fire season like seeded the clouds, seeded all that water vapor so they could all glom together and rain a bunch. But like when the city is under siege by fire, there is a colossal rainstorm and beep. Um, sorry, there was someone making noise. Uh, the city is under siege by a fire more colossal than most have known, and there is a large rainstorm that helps them put it out. And the Exalted Cleanliness they take credit for that. They're like, oh, the water, the water aims to help us cleanse along with our soap, and we have called it from the heavens, blah, blah, blah. Very overdramatic. Difficult wildfire season. Hang on, sorry, I'm very nervous about, like, my phone going off and it being something bad happening. Anyway, particularly difficult wildfire season nearly destroys or hardly threatens already fire hardy city, but a colossal rainstorm helps defeat the flames. The Exalted Cleanliness takes credit, claiming that water is a necessary part of using their cleaning things, and they summoned the rains. Add something. I think this adds a public bath. The Exalted Cleanliness are so hype about having stopped the particularly difficult wildfire, and they're real hype about it. And they're like, yeah, this is great. We're making a public bath to celebrate, so everybody can bathe. Get out of here! This freaking gnat, dude. It's gonna drive me crazy. What are we gonna put for the public baths? Let's just put like a little light blue shape on the map. Doot. And we'll fill it in. That's the public bath. It's kind of funny, like, this city being named after a fire deity, then being very obsessed with cleanliness. I kind of think it falls in line. You use fire and heat to sterilize things, so they build a public bath. I'm also gonna put a Because we have 5 more citizens than turns. Yeah, we do. At the start, anyway. So we can be a little more free with our citizens. We're gonna put another citizen down onto the map. I feel like just sheerly for taking credit. Actually, hang on. So add something. This is a resource. These public baths are a resource, so we get another power into the pool, and it'll probably definitely next time a faction gains power, it's going to be the exalted cleanliness, because they're kind of the public bath was their idea. So now we have 22 citizens, 17 turns, and 2 power. Alright, let's see what's next. 213. Did I already roll that? Let's find out. 213. Death of a beloved leader. Was the leader murdered by conspirators? Was it illness, old age? How will the leader be remembered? So I think over time, the exalted cleanliness are not only... they kind of represent... I think over time they grow to represent, in the same way that the... I keep wanting to say the Lightless Flame, but that's Magnus Archives. In the same way that the Independent Flame comes to represent people who identify more strongly with here than with where their... where the city ancestrally came from. I think the Exalted Cleanliness are kind of the... They fall on the other side of the court of public opinion, and someone in the Independent Flame assassinates the heck out of the one of the council members that was appointed by the faraway ancestral homeland, who was looked upon as a leader in the Exalted Cleanliness for a murder of a council member who publicly aligned with the Exalted Cleanliness as most who side with the with the people who came over. Is seen as an act of political effect. It's rumored that someone from the Independent Flame had it carried out to gain that council seat, thereby unbalancing it, but it isn't determined to be clear. The baths are then named after the man who was murdered in them. And occasionally colored slightly pink in a morbid tribute. I like that. So what's this guy's name? We need to decide on name. Oh god, no. No names! I'm really bad at names. What are these people's names are? Are these human people? Oh no, I'm really bad at names, so we're just gonna get a name generator, because I don't I don't generate names on my own very well. Name generator. I think these people are human. Uh, 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 uh. Yeah, I think so. Because I wanted Karsus to be a very diverse continent, but other than some races that I missed in the first, designing of Karsus, I think mostly other places are human. Kind of, they're just human, but like they have a lot of cultural depth. Is the goal. So we'll grab ourselves a Who-Man name and see if we can get anything good. Cromwell. Cromwell Gerald is this guy's name. The Geraldi Spring. So it's the Cromwell. Wait, the Geraldi well. Because, Cromwell. Funny joke. Yeah, I like that. Okay, and the Exalted Cleanliness gains a power for this. So the Exalted Cleanliness... Exalted... Hang on. EC now has how many power? 3 power. 3 power. We have... Ooh, I haven't put a citizen down. Do they expand during this? I don't think they do. I think they do not. I'm going to try and put like a little rose petal shape on the... Except that's not pink, and that's not a rose petal. Can I do like a rose petal shape? You know what? I'm just going to put like a little shape here, and we're going to have to remember that it's a rose petal. Yes, that weird balloon shape is definitely a rose petal. Murder takes place. And they don't expand during that time. They're too busy freaking out about it. And that gives us 22 citizens, 16 turns, and 1 power. Let's roll again. Oh, hello.
Can you come to my room?
Sure.
It's gonna be a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while. That's 2. Everybody count. That's 2. 235 is what we just rolled. Oh, thank you, Moobot, reminding everyone that there's a Discord. It exists. There should be a link in the VOD description if you're watching it that way. What did we just roll? 235? 235, contradictory claims. 2 parties claim ownership of the city, pulling its fate in different directions. Is this resolved, or does the city languish in legal ambiguity? Okay, this kind of plays into our previous murder. So I think after this murder, the Independent Flame sees the rise of the cleanliness here, and they stage somewhat of a coup. How do they do that? I think, I don't know, what would they do to do this? I think they have a hold on the expanded district that's coming in here. Yeah, because then that kind of that also kind of balances. They each have 2 districts, so to speak. So they expanded into this district right here. But what else do they do? Oh gosh, I can't think of what they would do. Obviously, I want them to gain power. You know, that's what the contradictory claims thing does. Is a faction gains or loses power. Um, the IF has gained a power, so that now they have 2 power. But how do they do it, though? Oh golly. I need to decide what they do. What do they do? Okay, so they hired that hit, and I think instead of they see the people who like have been running the Independent Flame, they see that being so direct and so stabby is not going to be an effective tack to take, so to speak. And so what they do is they instead decide that they're going to do a lot of community outreach. So they shift from a sort of the flames of destruction burning out the interloper, so to speak. You burn out the influence of other people. Instead, they kind of shift toward more of an idea of we burn the independent flame in each of your hearths, and as such, we um, everyone is warmed by the independent flame. Kind of thing. They're looking to do community outreach. They're looking to do, they help the poor who may have not been treated very well so far. This is a commercial city after all, a city founded on commercial means. So, yeah, I like that. Flame, seeing that murder and stabbiness is not the path that they'll gain influence on, instead focuses on community outreach and helping those less fortunate. A shift in tone for the group from burning out others' influence to warming those who will need it, warming those who remain cold. I think maybe eventually, like over time, this could also spin out, depending on what I roll, it could spin out into, a splintering of Kermay into, Kermay the cleanser and the bringer of new cycles. Kermay the deity of fire, and then kind of a separate deity of hearth and of home and of warmth and aid, potentially, depending on how I roll. 5, 1, 2 is what I just rolled. So let's see what that gives us. Note that I've been writing this down as I go this time, so that I do not have to sit there on my own time. City beautification. New parks, new avenues, new roads. Who plans this, and is it a smooth transition, or is force needed? Okay, so this kind of ties in. What does it want? It just wants me to add a landmark, which would add a power to the pool, by the way. So I think both the Independent Flame and the Exalted Cleanliness here, they see that they are in a pretty direct competition, and so they both expand several districts this way. They kind of they expand to improve the city. Oh, that's, you know what? I mean, I'm mostly expanding that direction to get some of these cooler lines, but yeah, they both expand in this direction. One, two, three, 4 citizens. I'm feeling fancy schmance. This freaking gnat is in my face, dude. But other than expanding out to give people more space to live their lives, new parks, yeah, new avenues, new roads. Who plans this? I think this is a joint move. Both the, the Independent Flame desiring to have more space to, house those who are houseless, etc., etc., and the Exalted Cleanliness just kind of expand because they need more space. Public bathhouses on a smaller scale are common in these districts. So this one and this one, they have smaller public bathhouses that are not the initial one. But they still have to sell the idea of cleanliness. So these smaller public bathhouses. Hang on. I want that second one to be a little larger than that. See, this isn't necessary. These are, yeah, so these are like little landmarks, Those bathhouses are obviously, an effort of the Exalted Cleanliness. I think, the Independent Flame just doesn't really have a landmark here because they don't have the power for it. But the Cleanliness, not to be outdone, spends on expanding the city in kind. The Flame to do so in their community efforts. However, it's most obvious to see where the EC have expanded, seeing as there's a robust network of public bathhouses. This bathhouse network is regarded as a landmark of the city. Am I keeping track of turns correctly? I think so, yeah. Okay, so now there is, we're on turn 20 right now, so that makes sense. I think I might have accidentally done an extra turn, because we're supposed to have 25. Oh well. Hang on, no, I was looking at citizens. My brain fell out. We are still a number off, by the way. 21 minus 4 is... Well, minus 3 is the next, is 14, so minus 4 would be 13. 13 citizens. 14 turns. I think we're at actually 13 turns because I'm on 7. No, we're on the 13th turn. So 14 turns, 1 power. I do like the variant power rules. Like they just kind of it lets it. There's an intermediary there. We've just kind of been rolling such that the power bank has been empty very often. But like if we roll a bunch of landmarks in a row or like resources in a row, then there's a great number of power that can be shifted to one faction or another. 2, 2, 3 is what we just rolled on our next turn here. A great scandal. The people are shocked and a little bit intrigued, but what rules of decorum were violated and by whom? A faction loses power, actually, is what's taking place here mechanically. I think the network of public baths continues to spread throughout the city. First of all, let's put another road down and another citizen down. Maybe, yeah, another road down, another citizen down. But I think as the baths expand throughout the city, the exalted cleanliness is viewed in a little better light. They're like the people's thoughts basically boil down to, well, you're they're helping keep us clean with all these public baths, and you guys aren't doing as much. So they kind of lose some favor in the public opinion. I did my math super wrong, by the way, on those citizens. My brain fell out. It's actually 17. How did I get 13? Oh, I didn't count the right way. Anyway, I'm stupid. We actually have 17 citizens. Well, we're actually closer to 13. We have 16 citizens now. But anyway, the see, this is why I need to write things down. The exalted cleanliness are beginning to be viewed in a little better light. The exalted flame kind of relaxes. This keeps the pressure on with the public baths, and the flame loses notoriety for it as they seemed to rest on their laurels a bit. That's it. That's all. So that puts the EX at 3 power and the flame at 1 power. Okay, so next turn. Hang on, there's 2 citizens on the map there, by the way. Gotta put the red in that heart just so. Good enough. Hang on. 21 minus 4 is 17. And then minus 2 more is 15. So we actually have 15 citizens. 13 turns and 1 power. Actually 2 power because the power leaves the flames there. Okay. Next turn we roll 4, 6, 6. Let's see what that is. The city is condemned by a religion. Probably all sinners, says figurehead of prominent religion. What activity or belief caused this offense? Do the people care, and do its allies? Ooh, political intrigue. I think the obvious direction here. Hang on, what happens mechanically? Remove a resource? Um, well, the only real resources that this city has are its bathhouses and its ability to, like, you know, generate wood ash and stuff. Like wood ash and wood ash byproducts. um, I think someone. Ooh, ooh. Let's think about this. Let's say the ocean goddess, whose name I have written down somewhere, but she doesn't. Kayakoa's mom, I think. Did I write this down? I feel like I wrote this down. I must have, right? Timberlands, Ionic Twist. Where did I put that? Hang on. I'm sure. Okay, I think I wrote that down in another text document. Anyway, the worshippers of the sea goddess. Uh, they're not happy about the sea being boiled away. For salt other places, and they need to get that energy out. The most prominent leader of the cult of the sea goddess uh, disdains upon the flame, the independent flame, and they don't. I don't know how to rope this into losing a resource though, because like I said, they don't really have a lot of resources. Uh, okay, I think that just generally they're not gonna make as much money in trade because, uh, okay, the accusation is that someone in the flame, in the independent flame, is uh, egging on the volcano to continuously erupt every year to cause the same cycle over and over. People from the area just kind of roll their eyes and they're like, "Yeah, the fires happen every year. These people who aren't from here don't know what they're talking about." But for at least some time, uh, the association with the the lye that's produced from all this wood ash is pretty negative, and as such, they lose a lot of money. They lose money. They lose funds. They're the resource that brought them here. So a rumor is spread by the ocean goddesses worshippers that members of the independent flame have been egging on the volcano to start the cycle of flame and rebirth. The members of the independent flame who have been misinterpreted as worshippers of oh, see, yeah, Kermay have been egging on the volcano to start the cycle of flame and rebirth over earlier or more often to get more ash to produce more ash products. I just accidentally switched to the wrong layout in my excitement to squish the gnat. My apologies. So, in to get more ash byproducts, globally, the Association of Interacting. I didn't get the gnat. It just flew into my glasses as if to laugh at me. I'm upset with this. Ash product is stigmatized for a bit, and the city loses funds. Locals know, however, that the volcano just has an itchy trigger finger and goes off about once a year or so. So other than the lack of money, it doesn't affect the city. One of these times I'm gonna get this gnat, y'all. It's gonna drive me crazy. Alright. Yeah, the city doesn't, like, grow or change, I don't think. Because they're too busy being like, well, I didn't light anything on fire, did you? No, I didn't light anything on fire, did you? So, 15 citizens, 12 turns, 2 power. There's not really a way for me to, express the lack of money on the map, but let it be known that for a while, this city is not, it's a little short on money. Money. Alright, let's roll for our next turn. 4-1-3. A great fear? What could possibly terrify a whole city? Is it a monster, a virus, a curse, or just the inflated rumors of a dangerous neighbor? Okay. I think that maybe the Independent Flame leans in on these rumors. Like, everybody thinks it's crazy, but there is a great fear of the volcano. The volcano goes off twice in a year and makes the cycle happen twice in a single year, and everybody's like, oh no, what if someone was right and they actually did the thing? And the Independent Flame capitalizes on this and uses it to gain power. The what if lingers in the back of everyone's heads, culturally speaking, and is set off by the fire cycle occurring twice in 1 year. Someone who leads the Independent Flame decides to capitalize on this and lords some control of the volcano over the populace, backing up the claim with the idea that the cycle won't occur next year. When it doesn't, the IF gain quite a bit of power. So the IF now have 2 power again. We have 14 citizens, because I'm going to expand a little bit. Where did my brain go? Hang on. Citizens, 11 turns and 1 power. I really wish I could get this gnat so I could stop swatting at my face like a crazy person. Yeah. They're gonna expand here. And we're gonna put a citizen down in there. And, I'm going to be trying to save at least a few citizens here and there for this to kind of, like, emphasize at the end of the game, like, you know, what the populated districts are. Hang on, that's not a very good heart. Let me fix that while I'm thinking about it. Okay. Next turn. Roll for next turn. Here we go. Oh, all ones. 1, 1, 1. That's not a common roll. Scroll up to the top of the tables here. Civil protests. The citizens are unhappy and not afraid to publicly show it. What demands do the citizens have? Does the leadership cave in or crack down? A faction gains power. I think that the Independent Flame is going to press on. They're going to, gesture to the fact that they controlled the volcano for 2 whole years. Oh, and just like the volcano, we need to explode on the people who colonized us, and this is when they finally make the split from their parent country, and they gain their own independence proper. And it leads to a lot of civil protest. There's no outright war because the country that they were that they were sending so much tariffs and money back to has finally recognized, like, they've had other failed pieces of their state could escape, basically escape the iron grip. So they're like, yeah, just go, we don't have time for another war. So around this time, it's a lot of protest, but it is not a war outright. Deal of protest spurred on by the flames and their previous control of the area's volcano. Their home country finally lets Kermaestrin go and be its own place. It's a lot of civil unrest, but no war. No war proper. And the IF leans in on that and gains more power. 3 power, becoming just as powerful as the exalted cleanliness now. Whoa. So now we got 14 citizens, 10 turns, no power in the bank. Okay, let's roll again. 413. I think I've already rolled that one, but we'll see. Oh, I definitely already rolled 413. Let's see what 431 looks like. 431. The family structure changes. The way people live together changes. Is this for work? To save on rent? Do people enjoy this change? I think as the recognition of escape from their former colonizing country ripples through the country, people are like, oh, we can occupy all this space. So people are less likely to live in multi-generational homes, which was much more common before this. And I think people on the this side of the map here become a little less dense. So the coastal area is a lot more dense, but this area over here, people are like, oh, we can be in all this space, let's go, and like expand, decreasing the density of the right side of the screen. Yeah, I like that. And there's like a little... Yeah, and then we'll just note that those probably have one citizen. Yeah, well, you know what? We're 4 citizens ahead of turns right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna put 3 citizens. Yeah, I'm gonna put 3 citizens. It's like these places are obviously populated, but they're not gonna be as populated. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave those empty, and we'll put citizens later. But know that this side of the screen is going to be much more dense than this side of the screen. That they're no longer under other people's control leads people on the leading edge of the city at the time to expand greatly, and as a result, people live less in multi-generational homes, but the same extended family, and more so a single family to a single home. Yeah, I like that. Next turn. 14 citizens, 9 turns, no power. Uh, 2, 1, 2. We'll see what we get out of that. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on my phone here in case something crazy's happening. 2, 1, 2. A meteoric rise. Someone rises to power. What deceit or duplicity? I think we already had this one. Let's see what 221 is. Elections are held. These are all political events. And we don't have any power to give the factions. So, I mean, we could just have them trade power. We could have like one faction lose power. I think, actually, yeah, let's say elections are held. Finally, the first properly free, first election fully free of the formerly installed candidates who previously hung on to terms via the sympathetic exalted cleanliness people first election free of those formerly installed candidates takes place, and the exalted cleanliness loses power because of their association, loses influence because of their association with the previous ruling class, so to speak. So now the EC has 1 less power, 2 power, and now we have a power in the tank. So we got 14 citizens, 8 turns, and 1 power. So let's roll. Let me get a drink of water before I roll for the next turn. Uh, 6, 3, 5. Did I roll that? Why am I rolling such, like, the same patterns over and over? It's kind of weird. 6, 3, 5. The land moves. The ground shifts and changes. A hill is pushed up. A mountain collapses. What force made this happen? Is it beneficial? I'm almost tempted to make, like, the volcano, like, suddenly need to expand a bunch or something. Ooh, even better. So you know how I had the ice elemental happen because of a natural disaster in another continent? What if we lean in on that theme and we make it more... we lean in on that theme, and what if something happens to, like, expose a tear to the fire plane or something? Like, I would say it's not a permanent tear to the fire plane because, like, there's already plenty of, you know, weirdness in the Timberlands, but I would say, okay, I like this. Someone who is a worshiper of the fire deity is trying to perform some kind of ritual with a volcano. Okay, so someone in the Independent Flame is trying to prove, you know, that they do have control of the volcano. It wasn't just an urban legend. And they try to perform some kind of ritual with the volcano and temporarily open a tear into the fire plane, which vastly expands the volcano. And, like, now there's just, like, a giant fiery wasteland that's, like, starting to impede upon the city. So we're gonna add a little volcano shape over here, or, like, a little volcano color. So we're gonna do this. They're just gonna lose this section of the city here. Yeah, I like that. So this section of the city is just, like, it's not necessarily, like, it's still, like, the border of this terrifying fire disaster, but, like, you know, so it still it doesn't make the nearby districts entirely uninhabitable, but, like, the 2 districts that just 8 are completely done for. So now this area is just a giant volcano mess. Whether due to pride, poor judgment, or just sheer bad ideas run wild, someone tries to control the control the volcano. Again, someone from and accidentally opens a temporary tear into the fire plane. This temporary tearing, like a temporary gate into the fire plane of the planar structure, causes the volcano's territory to expand and raise a chunk of the city as a result, along with a little bit of the continent as a result. Thankfully, the two districts that got eaten were pretty sparsely populated. This is something that, like, also, we haven't really touched on the whole, like, oral history vein here. Ooh, what was I saying? Yeah, we haven't really touched on the oral history concept. That is something that's taking place. Like, we haven't really mentioned it a lot, but it still is something that is a thing here. There are just large, like, history is told orally, and it's just kind of, like, distributed throughout the people. So, like, one district may tell you it happened one way, and one district may tell you it happened another. And, like, the exalted cleanliness, part of their power and draw and ability is the fact that the bath network that they have tends to create a lot of gossip, so you can kind of they can kind of control the historical narrative a little bit. Oh, can I get the gnat? Oh no, it flew off before I could squish it. Lack of written history, and therefore reliance on oral history. The bath's role as a gossip mill of sorts gives them control of historical narrative to some degree. Okay, next turn. We're down to 7 turns. 14 citizens, 7 turns, and 1 power, which is likely to go to the exalted cleanliness probably soon, just because, like, for the things we just discussed, the volcano exploding and all that. 1, 3, 4. Did we already roll that? I think we might have already rolled that. 134 is a foreign war spills over. I don't think we can do this one just for the sheer sake of and we've already rolled 314 too. A trade war costs dearly. No. That doesn't fit either. 431, maybe? 431. No, we already rolled 431. 143. Okay, well, enemy sabotage. Enemy forces enter the city and destroy or damage a resource. Who sent them? What is their agenda? All right, who would be aiming to destroy a resource here? I think. Oh golly. I don't know. Cause like they would come in. Maybe they're trying to destroy the. I don't know. I don't feel like that roll just fits very well. I think I need to roll again because like this just doesn't suit. Like I don't have a good enough idea of who's around and therefore who would be causing sabotage problems other than the people on True Guy, which I don't think they would even bother, honestly. So let's roll again and see what we get. 4, 3. I thought I was about to roll 431 again and I was gonna explode. No, 435 is new funerary tradition. The dead are now burned, perhaps mummified then buried. What dedicated space is needed? What prompted this change? So, I mean, the obvious decision is like, oh yeah, they finally decide to start cremating their bodies. Like that would be almost like herder. That's super obvious. I feel like they would already be cremating their bodies with the ashes and everything. And I've already done on a previous city the idea of the ashes being the materials of someone's body being useful. I think instead of cremation, I think it starts becoming a popular ritual to throw them into the burning wastes to the right of the city. People are like, well, we all this smoke, and we can't use the ashes anyway because they're people ashes, and that'll cause problems for this, this, and this. We need to get rid of them a better way, so they leave them in the carrion in the admittedly pretty sparse carrion in the flame broiled area. New funerary tradition, leaving in the flame wastes or simply to be destroyed. The idea of using a person's ashes for the usual use for ashes had long been distasteful, but until now, people were to use them in times of desperation. Now, a tradition arises of either carrying bodies into the wastes or simply walking into the wastes to die. But until now, people were willing to use them in times of desperation, mostly because there was a lack of other burial methods. Okay, 6 turns, 1 power. Oh wait, we need to add things to the map. Add a district or landmark. I think there's kind of like a funeral district, so to speak. It's kind of like a, yeah, as close as they can get to this area, you know. So I think if I could, I'd put a little skull there instead for the citizenry for that, but I can't, so I won't. Uh, we'll put a heart there, and people, kind of build out toward that direction. At a district or landmark, the landmark is just like, I like this. The landmark is like an ornate archway that people walk through. I know that I've defined a god of death and dying in other episodes. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Non-Karsus fables, concepts, true guy lore. I think it might actually be in a Carsusian city. The god of death, death. No. Okay, it's not in the Karsus lore. Where is the city that has the party district that's also death? Ah, Quilibus. Word of Quilibus. Much twisted, but word of Quilibus nonetheless. If one is walking, they are said to walk through the arch of Quilibus, whose mythos has reached not Karsus, but Kermaestrin. Kermaestrin, rather warped, focusing only on his death aspect and not his party aspect. Yep, I like that. I like that a lot. We're down to the last 5 turns here. 13 citizens now. 6 turns, 1 power. Let me try to draw a little archway shape, because there's like a way to draw curves. So let me try that. Yeah, it's kind of like a little archway shape. That'll do. That'll remind me that there's that landmark there. Through the archways. Okay, so next turn, what do we roll? 4, 2, 5. Let's see what that is. 4, 2, 5. Outsiders arrive. Where did the newcomers settle? What habits have they brought along? Okay. Who's coming here? I think this is people. There is a group of group of researchers from Antrim who are like, this place is weird. I want to study it. And they decide to move in. Antrim gets like a party together, and they use the circle network, which has been, there is a single circle here in this town, and they send a group of they send a group of researchers who are curious that occasionally just kind of send reports back on like the local people and like how their magic works and stuff. And they're gonna move in over here, and they're gonna be a little red thought bubble because they're from Antchime. And like obviously it's not just, you know, students or academics coming, but like Antchime extends this offer like, hey, we have some people very interested in the way in your way of life, and you know some other people come along because they're like, I'm sick of living on Karsus where it's weird, you know. So this is kind of the Antchimian district, the place where it is much more magical. I think actually, I'm kind of tempted to like, cause oh man, isn't this the Circle Network is like has been established since long back, so like I don't want to, you know, introduce it this early in the like this recently in history, but like I think they move the Circle to the Antrim district. I like that. Who are either interested in studying and reporting on the local culture for Antchime's lore stores, TM, or just interested in escaping Karsus's magic nonsense that crops up way too often. The circle, the teleportation circle is moved to this district, which, running up to the present, remains somewhat more magical than the rest of the town. 12 citizens, 5 turns, 1 power. Five, 2, 4 is what I just rolled. Wow, I rolled the exact same thing. I kind of want to. Oh, I already did a thing for a place for the dead. We're rolling again. 3, 4, 3. Have we already rolled 3, 4, 3? We're okay. Widespread poverty. The markets are fickle and the poor grow poorer. Who profits from this? What happens to those who can't afford housing anymore? I mean, have we said that? No, that doesn't make sense. We'll roll again. 6, 5, 5. I'm just gonna keep rolling until I get something I can make a story out of, honestly. Dangerous wildfires? No, those happen every year. 2, 6, 1. Peaceful neighbor. It's nice to have new settlements nearby. Trade partners, military allies, or just a friendly rivalry in sports. Who are they? What sets them apart? I think this is just the process of the Antchime migrants settling in, and this new faction TM is they're called the Brain Trust, somewhat mockingly, somewhat not mockingly. by the local denizens. And they start out with 1 power, so faction, brain trust, and their symbol is like a little brain shape, like a little doot, little brain shape, or maybe it's just a let's make it a quill feather. It's a little quill feather because they wouldn't, brain doesn't fit in the rest of the fantasy vibe. So it's a little quill, and they have 1 power. They obviously start with 1 power, and then they might be able to gain it later. So the brain trust here, they expand in their district. They expand into another district as they gain in power. We'll put a citizen down there. And the locals kind of make fun of them a little bit. It's like, oh man, what are you gonna do? Academics, me. But like, they're settling in. The magical district expands a bit, and a proper 3rd faction arises because of it, called the Brain Trust by the locals. It's mostly just people formerly from Karsus sticking together. Okay. Next roll. 6, 5, 3. What do we get? Minor civic fire. Well, the only place that a minor civic fire could take place is in the brain trust. Everywhere else is like pretty hardened to fire. So like, okay, I have an idea. So instead of completely removing a district, I'm going to change the roads of a district. We're going to make this district smaller, and we're going to undo a few things here. We're going to make the roads of this district smaller because half the district burns down because people from Anchime don't know how to handle fire. They used to live in a desert, So that district gets cut in half. Unfortunately, the former Carsusians, yes. Carsusians, yeah, it's whatever. It's spelled Carsusians, but like Carsusians don't have as good of a handle on anti-fire architecture, and as such, half of their newly built expansion burns in a major fire. In a major fire caused by the yearly cycle. Fire architecture as the locals. That part of the city, that direction for the district isn't built in, even running up to the present. Yeah. Yeah, remove a landmark or district. I'm only removing half a district because I like having that district there. So, 12 citizens, 4 turns, 1 power. 5, 4, 5. Let's see what we get. A project ends in tragedy. Negligence or malice, but something led to tragedy. What happened, and who has to pay for this disaster? Remove something, and a faction loses power. I'm almost kind of tempted to like. Okay. What I'm thinking is, the Anchime district just kind of like almost completely burns down. Like someone tries to, incorporate some anti-fire magic or something, and it doesn't go well. And we basically almost lose that district. So like, people assume that the former Anchime district is just kind of haunted and bad. The brain trust evaporates due to further fires, mostly caused by trying to lean on anti-fire enchantments. The brain trust districts are almost completely destroyed, only leaving a small neighborhood acting as an outskirts for the main city. The circle, the teleportation circle, is thought lost by those there, but it's known that it still works. They just can't find it. Okay, well now we gotta remove all that work I put in. Goodbye, district. We're gonna small-in this district quite a bit. It's gonna be very tiny. It's just a little blob. That's all that's left. And we're just going to add the citizens that were there, like that one citizen that was there, back into the citizen pool, so we can use it to flesh out later. And we're down to like the second to last turn here. Two turns, 1 power. Yeah, the brain trust only has one power. Oh no, a faction loses power. The faction just outright evaporates then. So, goodbye, brain trust. We steal your power and put it into the power pile. Brain trust is no more. and the only major remnant is maybe potentially like someone's family crest containing a feather because they uh like maybe some aristocratic family had someone from the brain trust faction, so to speak, marry into their family, and then the smaller family had a feather in their family crest, maybe. That's a thought. I don't know. I might not stick to that one. Let's see what we get. Rolling, rolling, rolling. 441. I thought I was about to roll 444, and I was like, that's not good luck. 441 is hygiene gains in importance. People start washing their hands. Public fountains become popular, as do sewer systems, who helps keep the city clean. I think just the exalted cleanliness just gains a bunch of power. The exalted cleanliness, having lost a bit of their overlord stigma because of the intrusion of Anchime, or Karsus, the Carsusians. Gains in power and spreads their message of keeping clean being very important, to keep oneself safe amongst all the dangers of fire season, especially. This gain in power improves the public bath network, which still functions as an information network of sorts. So we're gonna give the... How much power does this faction have? They have 3 power now. So they had 2 power, so now they have 3 power. 3 power. Okay, last turn. This is what's happening running up to the present. I'm just making sure this Discord message isn't someone being like, "What are you doing?" Oh, okay, I gotta finish this last turn, but someone's island is open. I'm like talking to someone to try and get Animal Crossing turnips. Because I decided to jump in on turnips. We gotta do this last turn super quick. Then I gotta be done. 532. 532. Come on, be a good roll. Social housing. Ooh, okay, I like that. And again, in the continuous battle of the clean and the flame, the flame leans in on their being, on their reputation of being good for the less fortunate of the public, and builds a great deal of public housing in this district. And we're gonna put a shape in that district to remind me of it. We're gonna put a little... Is there like a cross shape? There is not a cross shape. I'm gonna make a little red cross in here. At the red cross, don't sue me. I'm gonna make a little red... Yeah, a little red cross to remind me that there is like a great deal of public housing in that district. running up to the present, the flame is attempting to retain their hold on the local power by building a series of public housing to keep the people less fortunate close to their hearth, so to speak. However, there's still plenty of people aligned with the cleanliness for their bath network being pretty easily accessible and often a point of social interaction. Typing. Okay. I'm gonna. Okay, instead of trying to rush this, I'm gonna put up the BRB and do turnips super quick. So I will be right back. Promise. Okay. Sorry about that. I just didn't want to, finish this city in a hurry. I also think that since we've got some extra time here, uh, originally this whole turn up deal was supposed to happen right after I ended stream, but the person uh, moved the timetable up a little bit, so to speak. And I'm really happy they did, though, because I just got like 1.7 million bells or something like that. Something crazy. So, yeah. Anyway, now that I've gotten that out of the way, we can get it back to what we're doing. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Running up to the present, the Independent Flame is trying to retain their hold on local power by building a series of public housings. It's basically just like a bunch of cheap apartments but they don't cost rent, that you just kind of be in if you're down on your luck. In exchange for, like if you spend X amount of your time helping other people, or like, it's expected that like either you do something to help the cause of the independent flame, or if you're too tied up in what you're doing, just it's kind of like it's like a welfare type thing. The most wealthy help the least wealthy. Um, to fill a little bit of extra of our time here, I actually wanted to sit down and work out the year spans for you know the not Karsus continents. This is gonna get a little spoilery right now for people who are in my campaign, so you may want to click off now if you're in my campaign, but if not, before we decide on, I lied, don't click off now yet. We need to finish filling in all the citizen tokens and stuff. So we still have, on our last turn here, 13 citizens to fill in. And, 1 power remaining to delegate, I think. And we have 1 more power remaining to delegate, so... Hang on, let me double check that, like, you can, in fact, at the end of the game, finish spreading out power. I just need to double check the rules, so I don't, like, accidentally tack even more homebrew onto this thing. But, let's look. Power rules, let's look. Also, the game studio that makes Ex Novo is called Shark Bomb. Shark Bombs, plural. Power tokens. Each city starts with 1 power token. Hang on, it says these have been updated again? Are you sure? Ex Novo. Also, they're selling Ex Novo and Ex Umbra together as a bundle, which is a good idea. I would suggest that. Yeah, anyway, power rules. When a faction is removed, move all its power tokens to the map or another faction. When it loses power while it has no power left, it's gone. Whenever a resource is removed, remove 2 power tokens from the city. Yeah, it doesn't say what to do if you have spare power lying around, so I'm just gonna say I delegated at the end. So we'll give the Independent Flame another power. Four power. So that puts them slightly above the excessive cleanliness or whatever, or the exalted cleanliness rather. But that's not the big deal. So we have 13 citizens to add. First of all, we need to more densely populate this side of the city. So shapes, heart. So we're gonna more densely populate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So these two districts here are pretty sparsely populated because they're right next to the fire zone and therefore the death zone. So they're not going to be very heavily populated. And that'll be reflected in the final map. But we've got all our citizens placed. Come on, if I can get that to fill. Do I need to zoom in to fill it? That's something I haven't done this whole stream, is zoomed in. Was there another heart that we didn't fill earlier? I think so. Yeah, that one. It's only 2 pixels, but it's not the end. So it's not the end of the world. But I'm going to fix it because it's gonna bother me otherwise. At this point, I would be better off. Yeah, this thing. Just kind of going over it and fixing it. There we go. All right. So this is the Kermaestrin. You know what's weird is there's an I might remove that second city in the Ashland and just have it be its own thing there. A lot of these potential city dots. Speaking of Karsus not Karsus at large, a lot of these potential city dots are just theoretical places for cities, and I haven't decided to put them there yet. Oh, we were gonna work on the year system, weren't we? So first of all, let's save this as Kermaestrin. Kermaestrin rough map. Alright, so that's Kermaestrin. I need to open several other lore documents so I can work out what else occurs. I'm also going to make sure that we are actually done after you've placed all the citizen tokens and stuff, and there's not like a turn I'm forgetting. Yeah, the topping out phase, as it's called, is what we just did. Zeet, zoot. My phone is ringing. I'm still live, Mom, don't you worry. Yeah, the only other thing we're missing from the topping out phase is just outright naming features on the map, but we already did that. Hang on, I've got to take this. Hooray. So anyway, let's look at the whole of Not Karsus while I'm thinking about this. Remove the cropping and or padding. Scooch this over so it's what we're looking at. And I need to open several lore documents, so these, because I'm considering the concept of time for the whole setting at this point. Well, at least the whole setting outside Karsus. So I need to, like, open things and see where they align. This is where having my lore in a not just like a TXT file would be nice. These are just concepts. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. The bags of holding thing, which came up in that dungeon design. I'm very excited about that. Okay. Where I need lore. True Guy lore. I think True Guy's the only other design continent so far. True Guy and Flarin. So, so this is when spoilers start for real. Unlike Karsus, which has a split timeline, so to speak, they have like a split. There's post Sans and pre Sans. There's not any remembering of pre Sans in Karsus because it was such a big disaster. Yeah. So current year is 2,592. So current year in Karsus is post Sans 2,592. And okay, so Triad's a smaller city, so there's only 9 of them, so we're not gonna do that. How many turns was Dendron? 16. So Dendron was 16. So this so Kermaestrin is even older. And how many turns was Quotus and how many turns is Quotus and Martyr, because they're that long? One. Okay, so hang on. Let's type numbers. Kermaestrin is 20 turns. Kermaestrin is 20. Kermaestrin is 20. We know that. Not Karsus. Quotus is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So Quotus and Martyr. Quotus and Martyr are 16 turns. And Dendron is also 16 turns. So Kermaestrin is actually like one of the older cities on the continent, or cities in the setting. The only old, I kind of like that, honestly. Like that city in the red area, which we're probably gonna work on next, would then be 25 turns. So red city that makes Kermaestrin would be 25 turns, and the rainforest archive city would then be 20 turns. Yeah, I think so there's at least 2,000 years there. 2,500 years there. And then some. So on the scale of Karsus, how much is each turn? About 13 years ish. 55, 5, 40. Yeah. So each turn's roughly 40 years, or 13 years. So honestly, I think I'm just gonna tack an extra 1,000 years onto post Sans society. Like I think beyond that there is just no record whatsoever. Like their years only go back so far. I'm almost tempted to just like tack 500, and that's all the farther their years go back. And like post Sans is kind of an anachronism. Like they know that it stands for post Sans, but they don't know anything pre Sans. So I'm gonna say that there is obviously there's more time than 3,500 years. I think they're just I'm gonna tack 1,500 onto it. So 4559. These continents don't have a history split. They don't have a defining split in their history. Is current year. Obviously, there was time before that because of reasons. Just reasons. You might learn about them later in episodes of Ex Umbra, but I won't get turbo spoilery. But just know that it's more likely to be spoilery around this period of time. So obviously there was time before that because of reasons, but not recorded history on these continents. So Dendron, Quotus, Martyr, they're all around the same age. I would say if I were to use Anchime, if I were to use Ex Novo for Anchime, it would be 25 turns long. So the only other oldest city, the other oldest city on the continent would be the red city that begets Kermaestrin. There's there's a suggested time scale in Ex Novo time. Yeah, tracking time. Time in Ex Novo is nebulous by design. The rolled events represent the dramatic moments within a longer span of time, but if you want to estimate things more closely, you can roughly consult the following table. I think Quotus and Martyr were founded around the same time, so that gives us a point of reference for Dendron, and we can just work backwards from there. I'm almost tempted to make the scale of their calendars different. I think years are the same roughly, but there's different individual months and days. Just kind of maybe Karsus follows what we would consider a typical calendar, and not Karsos, follows a lunar calendar. I like that. I like that a lot. So the months are different, but by and large, the years are going to be very, very similar, I think. Unless I'm completely wrong about how a lunar calendar works. Let me double check before I go talking about that. Lunar calendar. It's formed on the movement of the moon and sun. Each Chinese calendar year has 12 or 13 months, and each month has 29 or 30 days. So the years would be roughly the same. I think what I want to do here is just give Karsus our existing Gregorian Julian calendar, and just give everywhere else a lunar calendar where each month has 30 days, and there are, each month has 30 days. There are either 12 or 13 months in a year, and it's roughly kept in sync by the moon. So the years are roughly the same. So Quotas was founded in 2092 post-sans. So Quotas founded 2092 PS, which would be roughly 4,092 for the rest of the world. Let's say 4090, just for fun. So that would put Dendron's founding at 4090. In True Guy, Dendron founded in 4090, around the same time as Quotas and Martyr. Yeah, because yeah. I'm just trying to reconcile some lore things in my brain, and that works just fine. It makes Anchime, I think, is not really bound by the same sort of time rules as at least in the context of Ex Novo. Anchime is spoiler. Anchime is 2,592 years old. Whatever I said the current year is, 2,592 years old. Current Anchime is essentially that old. Hopefully that doesn't spoil anything too bad for you, but current Anchime is that old. So so Anchime is even an elder city to even the oldest cities outside of Karsus, which is saying something. So Dendron was founded around 4090, and as such, the city of the Leopard King would be founded probably around, well, let's give it a little time to build, so let's say the city of the Leopard King is 25 turns long, just to help me with Kermaestrin as well. Let's give it plenty of time. So if I say 3,090, that's only 1,000 post-sans, basically. I I don't know. I don't know if I want to, like, I want Anchime to be an elder city, but I don't want it to be that much older than everything else on the continents. Uh, so I'd say, I mean, I don't want to say like 2090 for, yeah, let's say 2850 is when the oldest cities, for oldest cities, not Anchime. 2850-ish for oldest cities, because that still gives Anchime, like, and Anchime's like a long way ahead of basically everywhere just because of plot reasons. Uh, and that still gives, yeah, that still makes Anchime 850 years older than every other city. 25 turn cities. And then that would make 4090 for the rest of the world would be the 16 turns. So then we would get down into the 3,000 somethings. Let's say 3,400 ish for 20 turn cities, because that then gives the 25 turn cities a little more time of their own to build up and then decide to send colonializing efforts places. Yeah. So our 16 turn cities are founded in 4090 for the rest of the world. So I wrote that down, right? /2090 PS. I'm gonna have to like update all the dates in my thing. The shorter cities, the shorter lived cities, they their timeline will be dictated by when the when the colonializing efforts leave. So like Triad will be, its founding date will be dictated by when Dendron sends the people from Triad. So it'll be a lot younger. And as such, the founding dates for Dendron and the city we just worked on, that's, I can't remember. This Kermaestrin and Dendron, their founding dates will be dictated by when they leave, when their founding companies, so to speak, leave from their areas. So we've got a good starting point. Because, like, what are our other 20 turn cities? The Rainforest Archive City is 20 turns. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I have a rough idea of time. I did say... Yeah, I did say... Yeah, I just tacked 2,000 years onto it. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I gotta put that down somewhere, though. I gotta note that. what we'd call the standard / Gregorian calendar, and has a calendar split between pre-Sans and post-Sans in comparison to other continents that work on a lunar calendar and run about 2,000 years further back. Years are roughly equivalent. Months are more standard, 30 days. Lunar-like calendar. I'm going to say lunar-like calendar, so it is always 30 days. In not Karsus. Months are always 30 days. Days are 24 hours, etc., etc. Yeah. Alright, I like that. Yeah, so Karsus, or not Karsus, Anchime. Anchime would be founded in 2000. Hang on. So if it's minus 2000 and then it's 0, it would be 2592. Yeah. So then Anchime would be founded from the global perspective in 2592. However, none of they're still counting the years, but there's not intercontinent. There's not like recorded history past Anchime, basically. Well, obviously on Karsus. The further back in year you try to go, past the founding of Anchime in the globe, the harder it is to find information. Just because it's that old and hasn't survived that long. It gets more and more myth-like. I'm almost tempted to say that, like, almost no information. Like, almost no information really survives past the founding of Anchime, but they're still counting. Like, they remembered that the calendar had started that far back, so they kept counting, even if there's not a lot outside of, myth and legend. Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna work on, year spacing, so to speak. Not on stream, because I'm gonna step on my own toes about 1,000 times to do it. I'm gonna work on year spacing on my own. And hopefully next time we come back with Ex Novo, I will have founding dates for every town that makes sense. And we'll head in on either the city of the Leopard King or the red area town, probably. There's also those two other 3, 4, 5, 6. Hang on, I need to double check that I did my math correctly for something super quick. Because if I said the wrong number of things, I'm going to be very upset with myself. Sorry, I needed to check this. Circle. It's gonna drive me bonkers if I don't check it. Circle, circle, circle. There are. Did I say 7? Okay, good. I said 7. Phew. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 6. So there's 6 major archive cities, and then there's a single circle that goes to Antrim. Anyway, spoilers are over. So that's the master plan. I've worked out the basics of the year and the calendar, so we can do that. And next time we'll be back with next time we come back with Ex Novo, we will be working on the city that founded Kermaestrin, or the city of the Leopard King, for sure. But I might pick up Ex Umbra or another tabletop game for a little bit, just to give me more time. If I need more time to work out year spacing and stuff, I'm going to be playing Ex Umbra, which Ex Umbra will be very heavy on spoilers, by the way. Ex Umbra or just another tabletop game. Maybe I'll track down a deck of Uno cards. We can play some of those tarot card type games. Anyway, y'all, I could go further, but I'm out of things to do and I don't want to transition games. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you all are as enthused about my own setting as I am. And I hope you all, I already said have a wonderful week. I'm out of things to say. Everybody have a great week. Have a great night. Drink your water. Eat some food. I'll see you guys later.